welcome back. So imagine you worked really hard to reach a goal. Like maybe you finally landed that great new client you've been after, or you got a promotion that you've been hoping for. You're really feeling awesome, and now it's time to celebrate. So you make a reservation for dinner at that upscale restaurant that everyone's talking about. You know the kind. Linen-covered tables with fresh-cut flowers, bartenders and servers in crisp white button-down shirts, savory scents and classical music fill the air. You start to scan the menu, printed on a single sheet of thick cardstock, and then you gulp when you realize just how pricey it is. You start to feel just a little bit better when your smiling server stops by to introduce himself. He asks if you've ever dined here before, and then takes a minute to point out a few of his favorite dishes when he learns you're a newcomer. You notice the filet mignon costs $60, but the petite filet is only $42. You have no idea how much smaller it is, but it doesn't matter. It just feels like a better deal. When you order the petite filet, he responds, "Excellent choice. That's one of our most popular entrees," before recommending a $60 bottle of Cabernet that pairs nicely with the meal instead of the more expensive $95 bottle. That uneasy feeling you had a few minutes ago when you first sat down and looked at the menu, poof, it's gone. Your brain is already starting to enjoy your meal, even before those first bold notes of blackcurrant, cedar, and baking spices hit your lips and roll around your tongue for a complete flavor tour. Now, if you've ever experienced the scenario I just described, then you've experienced the effects of neuromarketing. Of course, marketers and advertisers have used behavioral science to influence consumer decisions for decades, but in recent years, a much more formal practice using neuroscience to study the emotional aspects of decision-making has emerged. It's been used to predict which songs and movies will be hits, and how effectively ads, commercials, and websites will engage consumers. In fact, the body of research surrounding why we like what we like and why we buy what we buy has grown to apply to virtually every aspect of marketing. Let's examine some of the neuroscience in the restaurant scenario. Neuromarketing was in action from the moment you picked up that menu on a single sheet of thick cardstock. Touch has power. In fact, one touch can color your impression of a person, place, or product. This phenomenon is called incidental touch. Put simply, weighty objects help confer a sense of gravitas. Heavier menus as opposed to lighter ones drive perception of upscale dining experiences. Neuroscientists have also discovered that a purchase can be predicted largely by the difference in activation between the brain's pain center and the brain's pleasure center. The pleasure center is activated when we anticipate the yumminess of the steak. The pain center is activated when we anticipate the yuckiness of the cost. When we consider a product that we believe is overpriced, then the pain center has greater activation than the pleasure center. Now, even though you don't know how much smaller the petite filet is, it seems like good value compared to the $60 cut. The pain is eased and pleasure wins before the first bite is consumed. And then there are some very strategic ways to ease the pain of the prices even more. Logically, a dollar sign tends to be associated with having to pay, and having to pay feels like a loss. And losses never feel good. So omit the dollar sign, or better yet, write the price out in words to make the cost even less significant. And what about Andrew? The smile, the introduction, the brief share of his personal favorites, all of that creates a personal connection that subconsciously makes you trust him a little more. He praised your selection, feeding your ego and priming your brain to love it before you even taste it. And he didn't recommend the most expensive wine. Not only are you more likely to follow his recommendations for dessert, more importantly, your entire experience is going to be perceived as more satisfying. Sometimes neuromarketing happens unintentionally. Perhaps Andrew didn't know that he was building trust, priming the guest for a great meal and a generous tip. Maybe Andrew's just a happy guy who loves his job. But think about how amazing he would be with a little knowledge. Our brains respond to sensory stimuli that affect our perception of any consumer experience, largely unconsciously. Want to learn more about all of the things beyond the way food tastes that influence the way the brain tastes food? Check out my most recent blog. And if you want to learn more about how the brain works and how to make it work better, check out my book, Happier Hour with Einstein, Another Round, and the full-color companion gratitude journal, available now on Amazon.